Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us. My gosh, can you believe we're already 1 month into the cortisol detox? So phase one is complete. And for anyone who's feeling any stress around missing some of those recordings, please just exhale. It's all okay. The recordings are there in the learning portal. So just make sure you're in there and you can watch the recordings at your leisure. You can read the resources, you can print anything off that appeals to you. So please just be at ease with this. This is to reduce stress, not stress to your life. So this is phase two, where we begin a deeper integration. And I've asked Karen to join us again for this particular piece because for those that don't know, Karen has undergone so much in her life to deepen her understanding of what's happening in her brain, what's happening in her body, what's happening in her emotional body, her subtle body. And I remember years ago, she spoke to me about cortisol before it became a buzzword. So Karen has been on this journey for many, many years to regulate not only her cortisol, but her nervous system and her sleep patterns and so much in her life. And she's someone I really look up to, and I'm always in awe at how she pivots. She'll learn, she'll find direction. She's so humble. She goes to other people to learn from them more, even though she already knows so much. And then she makes the tweaks that are needed to redress what's happening in her life and then to change patterns that aren't serving her anymore. So I think she's a beautiful one to have on here for our nighttime rituals. And I just want to remind you all that this cortisol detox is for you to look at, what can I incorporate into my life now that's going to create more ease, grace, and flow as I rediscover how to best balance cortisol for me. Because even though we've spoken about in the first phase, cortisol, the silent killer, we have really also, I hope, at this stage, come to understand that knowledge has power. And the more that you learn, the more that you immerse yourself in education and hand over some of that stress that maybe we're addicted to and patterns that keep us addicted, like doom scrolling, right? And that change our sleep patterns and energy patterns and definitely disrupt cortisol, just like light that Karen will speak into. As you learn more of these techniques, just look at, okay, I'm going to start with just one thing tonight. I'm going to implement one thing from this session. And then you can slowly add a little more, and a little more, and a little more. Okay? So please enjoy this. Enjoy the immersion. And I want to remind you all that in the doTERRA Australia New Zealand market, I think there might be some elsewhere in the world, but I want to say whenever you see this rose duet, the rose in moringa and the rose hydrosol, it is a beautiful addition to your evening routine. I love to look after myself. I love the feeling of putting food on my skin for it to eat, for it to absorb. And when I travel and during the day, you'll see that this is almost finished. This has just got back with me from my travels. I'm constantly using the hydrosol. Why am I mentioning this? One, because it's available. I want you to get it before it sells out. But two, when you find things that work for you, lean in and share them with others. I feel so calm, honestly, just from doing this. And it's the scent association with the rose, but it's also the coolness. It's also like I feel instantly hydrated. I feel like I'm giving my skin a drink. I feel like I have this Zen moment where nothing else exists except me and the rose. So I share it, right? And same with this beautiful Lush oil. I bought some for my sister before her travels, and she says she wears it on her face, but she actually uses it all over her body as well. So find the things that work, that nourish you, maybe bring you extra joy, and lean in and incorporate them into your daily life. So without further ado, Karen, thank you so much for being here, my darling. I really look forward to this immersion with you tonight. I'm going to go on mute. I'll hand over to you and I'll keep an eye on the chat.
Thank you so much for that introduction. Welcome everybody, everyone who's on live, anyone who's watching the recording. So as Vanessa was saying, I've been on my own health journey, I would say, for probably about 15 years now. So it was coincided with moving from the UK, where I'm originally from, to Australia, to Perth, where I am now, and being in that burnout state, and then going through a process of rebuilding, really learning, rebuilding, bringing in over time these habits to support my body, to support my nervous system, overall well-being. So I share from a very personal place of knowing what it takes to make those changes and knowing that it's a process. So I encourage you from tonight, there may be things that you hear, there probably are things that you hear that you're already doing. But if there's something that's new that you would like to try, that's something that you could take away and consider implementing that. I also went on to train as a holistic health coach. When I've moved to Australia, I was very inspired because I was learning so much about health and putting my own changes into practice. So I trained as a holistic health coach and also then discovered, obviously, the amazing doTERRA oils and products. And then a few years ago, trained as an aromatherapist as well. So I've been building on that knowledge and obviously working with people, sharing, educating people, but it's your own learning that's so profound in your own little experiment of one. That's the rich, fertile ground for, for really seeing what works. And like Vanessa was saying, sort of pivoting and changing. I'll share a little bit later on about sleep, and I had to really make some changes in the last couple of years around my sleep habits, which had fallen away, and I've had a lot of changes in my life. So our topic tonight was around an evening routine and having a really beautiful, unwinding, relaxing evening routine. So the first session I did was around the morning routines and starting our day off well. And it's obviously we can't really just expect to get into bed and then just switch off. It's like the whole day counts. So some of what I'll be touching on about the evening is like what we've been doing through the day as well, and how that's impacting on our ability to unwind and our ability to sleep and have a deep, restful sleep. We were having a little chat before we started tonight about, we might be getting that sleep, but is it good quality sleep as well? So just thinking about how we can support the quality of the sleep as well. So I will do a resource sheet for tonight. I'm going to do it probably tomorrow because I just wanted to, like last time, it was great to do it after the session and the discussion, and I could add a few things on there that were of specific interest to people. So that will be coming, just like a one-pager with the tips on and just so you don't have to worry about writing everything down and remembering things. But what we're really trying to do is in the evening, I guess from, let's say about sort of, I don't know, like 5, 6 p.m. onwards, we're just starting to down-regulate the nervous system. So we've been talking in the other sessions about how, a certain amount of cortisol, it's healthy, it's there for a purpose, but it's something that we want to be rising in the morning, and it gives us like an energy. And but what can happen is when that rhythm, that hormonal balance is out of whack, that we're getting it rising in the evening and the adrenaline as well, and then we're wired and we can't unwind and sleep and relax. So we're wanting to bring in practices that are going to down-regulate the nervous system, that are going to promote relaxation and look at things in our environment and in our habits and behaviours that are reducing stimulation and arousal. So we want it to just be, getting into that parasympathetic state for the nervous system. So I've got 10 suggestions, lifestyle habits, practices, including some of the oils, but other things as well, that I'll just take you through. And then obviously we've got space afterwards to obviously put things in the chat as we're chatting, and then we'll switch off afterwards and have a private conversation as well if there's things that people want to discuss then. So one thing that I found actually really helpful, and like everybody's routine's different with their food, but I like to try and eat early these days. I just find that if we have a heavy meal or a late meal, and sometimes I do, you go for dinner, it's a little bit of a different routine, that can interfere with sleep. So trying to think about how we're spacing out our meals and when we're going to eat, making sure that we eat enough, because we don't want that blood sugar drop that can make, we might fall asleep, but the blood sugar drops too low. So we want a nice balanced meal, but not too heavy and not too late. The Terrazyme digestive enzymes are fantastic. Obviously, you can do that with any meal. And there's also the MetaPower capsule for digesting carbohydrates. So you can consider integrating those to assist with the digestion, but just considering your meal spacing, your meal timing, because you might just find that's the thing that really helps you. I think with the focus of the MetaPower system being on optimizing metabolism and blood sugar regulation, you'll find over time, if you're consistent with those products, that your blood sugar is staying more stable. Obviously, nutrition makes a difference as well, what we're eating, but you'll find that you're able to stay asleep if you've got that blood sugar regulation. So just something to bear in mind. As I say, suggestions, you've got your own routines, but like I quite like to have like my meal sometimes at like 4:30, if I'm working from home, and then I know I've like fully digested it and it's not sitting on. I mean, I've had a lot of digestive issues, so that's something that's especially, with a bit more of a sensitive tummy, that's something that's a little bit more resonant for me. If you've got a really good, strong digestion, it might be as much of an issue. I always think about my dad, who's got like the most rock solid digestion, and he's the kind of person who will go out for dinner and he has like a double espresso and then just like has an amazing sleep. I'm just like, why didn't I inherit that aspect of the genetics, unfortunately? So thinking about your meal and how you space that out and using the products, the Terrazyme, the MetaPower capsule for the carbohydrate digestion. I forget the name of it now. That's really bad. Unless you can.
The MetaPower Assist?
Assist, that's it. Yeah, that is actually excellent. So you can consider those. So think about that in terms of like planning your evening. I like to put something on the diffuser for the evening. So diffusing regularly as much as you can at home. If you're in an office space, if you can diffuse there, even the cars, you can get little diffusers for the car. So as much diffusing as we can consistently is so beneficial for our mood in particular, our energy levels, our capacity to self-regulate and to come back into emotional balance. So thinking about having your diffuser in a good space that's easy to access. We spoke about this in the morning routine, having everything in view, setting up your environment so it's easy and you've got those visual cues and prompts. So I've got my diffuser there in my lounge room and I've got like a little selection of the oils just in front of it and a little wooden stand. It's quite cute. So I know I've got on there like my lavender peace blend, the restful blend. So that's my go-to for the evening. I really like that. Sometimes it's getting a bit cooler now, but in the warmer weather, I quite like to use the Easy Air because that's quite relaxing as well and helps with regulating the breathing. So yeah, that's a nice refreshing one if it's quite a hot night. But yeah, my go-to would be the lavender peace, and we can make our own blends, and I'll make some suggestions of what you might want to include if you want to make your own blends. There's the peace blend as well, which is really nice. That's a gorgeous one for calming, relaxing, grounding. But if you want to put your own blends together for the nervous system, for calming the mind and the body, just as a little bit of a cheat sheet, floral oils is a go-to. So, you think lavender, geranium's a beautiful relaxing oil. We go to the trees. You might want to do some cedarwood, for example, chamomile, also the roots, like your vetiver. Like vetiver is a really strong, more of a sedative, heavy. If you find that you're very, really in your head and it's just coming back into the body, you can't beat the vetiver oil. But having said that, the Peace Blend, the Lavender Peace have a lot of these oils in the mix as well. So go with what's convenient for you. So just go for a blend. If you want to do that, you can make your own blend. It can just be 2 oils, you know, if you want to just do your own little blend. But go with your scent preference, because the body is then guiding us to what we actually need. And I believe in, you know, intuitive aromatherapy and using the wisdom of the body to guide us with what's correct for us at that time. So you can do that. So diffusing early in the evening, very beneficial for obviously you, and if you live with other people, it's a great hack for calming the house down. I also have one by my bed, a diffuser by my bed. So I do recommend that as well, which we were talking about before we started this session. So you can get that going, you know, maybe an hour or half an hour before you go to bed, and you're just starting to prepare a really relaxing sanctuary. So we're going to talk a little bit about your, you know, your bedroom space, and just making sure that's set up to give your body cues to surrender, because sleeping, it's the process of surrendering. So we've got to feel safe. So it's how can we feel safe, feel comfortable, feel relaxed, that we can truly let go. So get the diffuser going, think about your meals. I saw someone saying they're having Terrazyme at night time. It's so, that Terrazyme is amazing, amazing. So definitely recommend that, especially if you've got any sensitivities in your digestion. And if we've been running around in the day, you know, like hopefully we are through this program just becoming more aware of those habits through the day. But I've had a really, really busy week this week, busier than normal. And I noticed it in my tummy. I noticed I was, you know, holding on a little bit and, you know, not digesting as well. So just being aware of that and letting the body, giving the body the support it needs to do all of its natural processes. So yeah, that would be the second tip, diffusing bedroom and lounge room. I like to have a shower, even if I've been working from home. I like to have like an evening shower as well as a morning shower. Some people love a bath, especially if I've been out in the day, because it's, you know, we've had like different energetic influences on us, and obviously the environment's not very clean as well. So I just find that is lovely and relaxing, like a nice warm shower. Like we spoke in the morning routine about the morning routine session about maybe bringing a little bit of cold water, like not too cold, but a little bit of cold water in the mornings, just for the more like stimulating. So we want to avoid that at night time, because that's going to, you know, energize us, and we want to be, as I said, down regulating and relaxing our body. So a nice warm shower, or if you like a bath, that would be nice as well, especially going into the more colder weather in Australia. And I think, like Vanessa was saying, just to start with, there's all of these, obviously we're talking about the oils and the supplements, but there's all these lovely pampery products with doTERRA as well. And just make your, you know, buy yourself a few little treats. Like the bath bars are really lovely. They're such good quality. And there is a Serenity Lavender Peace, bath bar, which is gorgeous. So you could try that. I love the body butter as well. I don't know if anyone's a fan of the body butter, but just having a warm shower and then just putting that onto your body, and that just can take 10 minutes, the shower, and then a little bit of, you know, just self-nurture, wash off the day, lovely warm water, just to feel, you know, put some nice comfy clothes on. That would be the ideal. And you can apply some oils on as well if you want to put some oils on your body around that time, you know, something like the beautiful Peace Roller. I like Console. I just like the kind of that comforting blend, one of the emotional aromatherapy. I just really love the aroma of that one. So I'll put a little bit of that over my heart. You know, it's nothing complicated, or balance is beautiful. So we're just, again, giving the bodies those little cues, those little bits of support to go, okay, we're starting to wind down, we're starting to let go, we're starting to let go of the day. So we've got considering your meals, we've got diffusing, we've got some like home spa, let's call it, little mini spa. Then evening light. this has been a big one for me. I am like a little bit more light sensitive, but like maybe we all are, you know, it's like the eyes are such a sensitive part of the body. And in the morning session, the morning routine session, we spoke about getting the natural light in as soon as possible and getting that into your eyes to cue the body that it's morning. We want to reset the circadian rhythm that way if it's got out of balance. So conversely, if we're looking at the end of the day, we want to be minimizing any light that's going to be stimulating. So I will dim the lights. I've got a salt lamp that's just actually next to me here. So they're a really nice ambient light. And I've also got one of those in my bedroom. So really they're the only two lights that I have on at night. And thinking about, you know, technology. So we still can be on our phones or on technology in the evening sometimes, or TV. It's the blue light that emits off those devices that's very stimulating for the system, and that can really interfere with our body's natural rhythm, because it's telling the brain that it's daytime. It's not, you know, before we had electricity, we would just be sitting in candlelight and then we would be going to bed, you know, really quite early most of the time to just, you know, or we'd sit by the fire, you know, we'd be sitting around the fire, that kind of thing. So there's so many benefits of the modern technology, but there's also, you know, the downsides of it, where it's taken us away from our natural impulses and processes as human beings. So just trying to adapt the environment to minimize that light. I still will go on my phone. I'm not going to say that I'm pure and I never go on my phone at night. I do. I've got blue light blocker glasses, so I can use those. They're quite readily available these days. I'll also just dim it to the lowest light setting. I did buy a TV recently. I hadn't had one up till the last 6 months or year, I think. And then I got one, and as soon as I turned it on, I was like, whoa, it was like unbelievably bright. So I just turned that right down to the most, you know, the lowest light setting. So you can adapt it that way as well. And if we are on tech, and if we are watching TV, and sometimes it's like, it can be really relaxing to watch a movie or your favorite show, but just thinking about what are we watching as well. You know, are we watching something that's stimulating, that's gonna, you know, put us into a stress response? You know, it's like, if you're going to be watching, I don't know, what would it be, like they used to like in the UK, like the police, like the crime dramas and things like that, and it would just be like, oh, you know, they're so gripping, and then you just like, your body's gone into a stress response. So if you do like those things, keep it into the into the day. And at night, we want to, if we are going to do that, we want it to be something that's more funny or light, or, you know, you know what I'm saying. So just considering that as well. As well as that, we want to avoid like stimulating conversations at night. You know, just coming a little bit more within, ideally, and not doing any vigorous exercise at night as well. Better to do that in the morning or sometime through the day, because sometimes then we've gone into, depending on what it is as well, it's stimulating for the body, and it's going to bring in more of those stress hormones at the wrong time of day. So if you are going to do something at night, you know, things like some gentle yoga, like yin yoga is really lovely. Some gentle stretching, like we spoke last time about the little massage balls. I do have my yoga mat just rolled out in the lounge room, just so again, it's like a cue, and I've got the little massage ball there just to go, I don't have to kind of get anything ready. So if there's a room or a space where you could have anything like that, where you can just, you know, lie down and give yourself some time just to relax. Meditation, if you like to meditate, you might have your own practice of meditation. There's also some great free resources that you can go online and find a nice meditation that you enjoy, someone whose voice resonates, or that the music is what you enjoy. Insight Timer is a really nice one, for example. But there's literally so many free resources like that. Doing something simple like a body scan, and you can do that when you get into bed as well, to just go from head to toe, just sort of tuning in, how you're feeling, noticing any tight or tense areas of the body, just bringing in more awareness of areas that might need to have a bit of love and a bit of awareness brought to them, and help us to release that as much as possible. Okay. So they're all things that are, again, as I've said, cueing the mind, cueing the body to come into that parasympathetic state to prepare for sleep, for that surrendered state. Supplement-wise, we spoke about the Metapower Assist for digestion and the Terazyme. Some people are taking the Metapower Advantage in the evening, and they found that beneficial for sleep. It's a little experiment sometimes to find what works best for you. So if you're taking that in the evening, you take that then, obviously. We also have the Serenity soft gels as an option. We'll hopefully get those in Australia at some point, but we can't order them by the US warehouse. So they've got in some of the oils that will help the body relax. They've also got L-theanine in there as well. We were talking about it before the recording started. They're very, very good. I've used those quite a lot, and they will slow down brainwaves with the L-theanine in there. So if we really find in that the active mind, they call it like the monkey mind sometimes, it's just looping around and looping around. We just sometimes need something coming in like that. And sometimes when we're very hyper aroused and we're really starting on the early journey to learn how to regulate more, or something's happened, a stress happens in our life, which, life happens, and sometimes we go through those stressful times. Having we might find it difficult to meditate, for example, but having a supplement that's got the key ingredients in there can just be that hack, that shortcut to just help the body to learn again how to let go. And I found with those, the depth of the sleep, I felt very refreshed, a lot more refreshed, the quality of the sleep when I was using those. So they are really excellent as well. Okay. So thinking about your bedroom, just a couple of things actually. So we spoke about caffeine in the first, the morning routine session. So bearing in mind that caffeine takes quite a long time to come out of the system. Some of us are slower metabolizers of caffeine as well. Like I had a genetic test done a few years ago for various reasons, and I'm a slow caffeine metabolizer, not like my dad. So I have to really minimize it to the bare minimum and only have it in the morning. I'll have it in the morning and try and keep it to that. But if you do have any caffeine, like, it's best to get it to the bare minimum, if not none, for managing our stress response and the cortisol side of things. But try and keep it, before midday, so it's got as much chance as possible to be out of the system, because there's some especially sensitive people that can, keep us quite stimulated and awake. But a herbal tea is lovely at night as well, just like little comforting things that you can do. I'm a real herbal tea girly, so I've always got my little teas, like a beautiful chamomile tea. There's some really nice sleep blends, so that's a really nice comforting thing that you can do as well. I did put down journaling. Sorry, I'm just going to finish off on these evening activities before I go on to the bedroom space. So yoga, meditation, body scanning, I had written down as well. Some people like journaling at the end of the day, because it might be that we just need to kind of clear out anything that we need to kind of process, or just get it down on paper. So it's not in our mind, and we're not going around and churning around on it. So some people can find that quite beneficial. Reading can be very relaxing, like the art of reading, that some people have retained, but a lot of people aren't reading as much now with technology, or they're reading on a Kindle, so they're getting that stimulation from the technology. I'd also written down colouring. I've not done that myself, but I've got one of my really good friends loves she's not feeling a really great meditator. There's some neurodiversity there, which means that she finds it hard just to sort of sit. But with the colouring, she finds it is really good because the brain is engaged with a little bit of an activity. Yeah, you're an amazing reader. Vanessa. So some of those like meditation colouring books can be quite nice. So I'm just sharing a few suggestions because things are different things work for different people, and some people for various reasons do find it hard to meditate, and there's other ways that we can stimulate a more meditative space in the brain, and maybe over time as we become more self-regulated we might find it easier to slip into meditation, but the guided meditation can be really helpful as support. So bedroom space, trying to keep it a calm space. Like I would say ideally, like no TV in the bedroom. With my ex-partner, that used to be a big cause of, you know, contention because he liked to just lie in bed and like watch TV. And I'm just like, oh, I just don't want that in my bedroom. So as much as possible, if we're sharing the room, we, you know, got to negotiate that with other people. But as much as you can, make it a calm, quiet, comfortable space. Just try and think about what you can do to make it into that more sanctuary feel. So mine's like really simple and uncluttered. I'm a more minimalist anyway, but I just like to keep it a nice, clear, clean space. So well ventilated, like we don't want it to be too hot. I do have the window open as much as I can, unless it's like really bad weather or freezing cold. You know, thinking about the level of noise, you know, there might be some things that we can't control. There's, you know, obviously consider earplugs, obviously as dark as possible. There's beautiful eye masks as well that you might want to integrate. So just thinking about what you might need to make it a calm, safe, comfortable, relaxing environment where you're minimizing any outside stimulus, basically. You know, life happens. There might be like someone snoring next to you, or a cat jumping on you, like me, or like a child, or, you know, it's like, I'm not saying that it's going to be amazingly perfect all the time, but just as much as possible to like engineer the environment to make it as relaxing as possible. But the diffusing in the room is lovely to just really create. It's so nice when you put that on and then you're going out, whatever you're doing in the evening, and then you go back into the room. It's just like, oh, you know, just so, so nice. So yeah, when you get into bed, the body scan can be beneficial. Like we were saying, if you're feeling like you can't get to sleep, hopefully diffusing does help. The lavender piece stick with the valerian, I always have that by my bed. Like I might have put some oil on me after my shower. I've got the diffuser going, but this one's actually been quite a game changer. I think the delivery application, I really like these sticks. They're really convenient. They're not greasy at all. They absorb really well into the skin. Smells amazing. And yeah, I just find that's really effective. So put a little bit on that, like put it over my wrist, sometimes over the heart. And then hopefully you'll be able to, with some of those things in place, you'll be able to drift off and have a nice deep sleep. Some of the things that happened for me though, where it went, yeah, the stick's so good, isn't it? Some of the things that happened to me, I'll just share like a personal experience really, because like my sleep had been, it hadn't been, I wouldn't say my sleep had been the main problem when I was on my real deep health journey. It was more for me like my tummy and more like a bit of anxiety through the day, that kind of thing, and energy levels overall. But I felt like I slept like okay overall. Like I wouldn't say like I was a really bad sleeper. But then what happened was when I went through a separation after a really long relationship, so that was 3 years ago, that really impacted on my sleep because I had so much change in my life. You know, I was kind of coming out of that relationship. That's a big change in itself. Moving house, you know, buying a house on my own, suddenly managing everything on my own, living life on my own with all my family in England, and, you know, just lots and lots of changes all at once. And I just found, because I had been so used to, you know, routine's such a big thing, you know, I had been living with my ex-partner for a long, long time, and partly the comfort of having someone else in the house. Like, obviously, I've got my fur baby, but just I missed having that presence of someone else, you know, there that I was used to. And then just the routine that you have if you are, you know, living with someone and, you know, having dinner together and then, and, you know, going to bed and just the chat. And then just suddenly I was like, the night time for me became the time when I was so conscious that I was living on my own, that I was on my own. And I was just putting off going to bed because I felt very lonely. Suddenly felt very lonely, like going to bed on my own. So I noticed that the time I would go to bed, I was just putting it off and putting it off and going to bed really late. And then that was really impacting on the quality of my sleep. So getting to bed early is really the thing that I change. I mean, it's like the most obvious thing to say to just go to bed, you know, a bit earlier, you know, like I was probably pushing it up to like, I don't know, like 11 or later. And I wake up early. I just naturally, I didn't in England, but now I wake up about 5:30 unless my cat wakes up early, but I just naturally wake up quite early. So never mind if I went to bed at 11 or 12, I'll wake up at 5. So I got a sleep app. So I did get a tracker called Shut Eye. And over about, so it would have been about for a year, I started to track my sleep. And there is a free version, and then there'll be other things, and some of them you might be using already. But it was really good for awareness and for accountability because I could see, okay, this is how long it took me to go to sleep. And I could see, oh, that was the day when I fell asleep really quickly. And what happened that day versus this day where it took me longer. And then it would show, I still use it now, the level of deep sleep, lighter sleep, and the REM sleep, and also if I'm waking at all. So it's been like a little interesting experiment. I've not really been much into like wearables and trackers and things like that, but I did actually find that very beneficial because I could start to see the patterns and I could then start to see, you know, how like sometimes you need like a bit of a tangible measure of progress. So I was like, oh, look, so if I go to bed about 9, you know, maybe I'm, you know, relaxing a little bit in bed and then I fall asleep by 9:30, then I'm getting a really good solid amount of sleep and then I can see that I've had a deeper sleep as well and would feel better. So it just helped me to like reinforce, to try some of these habits and see what really helped for me and just notice what was, you know, what was working, what was not. So that was recommended to me by someone that I was working with. She said it had really helped her husband. So sometimes we might benefit from something like that. You know, like some people love the trackers for your steps and they have a little goal to aim for. Some people love the trackers for their nutrition and making sure their macros, like their protein, fats, and carbohydrates, are in the right balance for them. So there's tools like that as well that we can use. Because I just could see over time, I'm actually making progress here. And that for me was quite motivating. So you could consider that as well. So I think that was probably everything. We were talking about a little bit before the recording started about sometimes we can fall asleep. Sometimes it can be an issue when we struggle to fall asleep. So then I would say, you know, we really want to prepare more in the evening to let go and be in a more relaxed state when we actually get into bed so that we're ready to surrender into sleep using some of these tools and habits. But if we're waking up in the night, we might need to just do a little bit more investigation to sort of pinpoint what's going on there. You know, sometimes it can be a blood sugar drop. So you want to make sure that you're looking at the blood sugar regulation through things like the Metapower system and your, you know, correct balance of nutrients fit for you, for your individual body. Some people do like a bedtime snack, like I'm saying, like eat early. That works well for me, but some people do benefit from a little bedtime snack. So if they find they wake up because of that blood sugar drop, they're a little bit hungry. So that is, you know, it used to be that old-fashioned remedy that they used to say about like what our grandmother might have done, like have a like warm milk and with some honey in it before you go to bed or something like that. So as I said, we're all different and different things work for different people. So bearing that in mind, if you do finally wake up, like one of my friends has found that going through perimenopause that she's feeling like, in fact, there's two friends who in a similar age group, they're finding that they wake up around that sort of 3 o'clock and they're actually really hungry. And they're maybe not eating enough through the day because they've been rushing around and kids and stuff. So just making sure that you're eating through your day and that you may need a little snack. Like one of them was having to actually get up in the night and actually have something to eat in the night. So it's not really what we're designed to be doing. So just making sure we're nourished appropriately for us. But also there is, I don't know if we can source it for the program, but within Chinese medicine, they have a chart that shows if we wake at certain times sort of consistently through the night, that can pinpoint where a meridian, an organ system of the body might be impacted. So it could be the liver, it could be the kidneys, so we can use it, or the intestines, so we can use that to maybe go, okay, that's an area of my body that needs support. If we're finding it's like it consistently at a certain time, would be one thing to consider as well. I suppose the other thing that's again like super obvious is fluid intake. You know, we were talking about in the morning routine of drinking enough and like really hydrating the body well in the morning and electrolytes and things like that. But equally, we don't want to have too much in the bladder before we go to sleep. Maybe getting a little bit older, bladder's not as strong as it used to be. So, you know, I felt like I went on Saturday night with some friends and you know, I actually don't drink alcohol these days. I just chose to remove that. I didn't actually mention that, but obviously that can help some people if they do drink to fall asleep, but it really impacts on the quality of the sleep. So it is really best avoided for that and other reasons, like ideally, dehydrating for the body as well. I'm sure everyone's well aware of that. But I'd gone out for this dinner with friends and I'm drinking like the soda in the restaurant, in the bar, and they give it you, and it's like, you know, big pints and stuff. And I was just like, you know, woke up in the middle of the night and dying for the loose. Just like some of the basic things like that. So sometimes it can be the obvious, you know, it can be the obvious things, or sometimes we might need to do a little bit more investigation to just dig into pinpoint what might be going on for you. And we were talking before the recording came on about, you know, some of us have had chronic stress that's been going on for years in our life, you know, for various reasons. You know, that takes a while to chip away at, and it takes time to unlearn, for the bodies to, as I said, learn how to regulate, to learn how to let go, to learn how to surrender into sleep. So if that resonates for you, using some of these practices, support from practitioners, with the, you know, emotional release. I think we're just so fortunate these days where there's a lot more growing awareness around the nervous system, around trauma and how that impacts on us, around how, you know, ongoing stresses impact on us. So there's amazing tools, resources, practitioners, information. So we've got the group for the program, obviously, and this is a wealth of knowledge of so many amazing people. So use that, ask questions, reach out. And obviously once the program, obviously you can go back and listen and go over the materials again, but the doTERRA community as a whole is such an amazing support, and also so many amazing knowledgeable people. And it can be from a practitioner who, you know, knows loads about the nervous system, about emotional well-being. It could be that person who's gone a similar journey to you, or a little tip that shared that just worked for them. You know, it was like the peace blend. Vanessa might be able to correct me on this if I'm wrong, but I think it almost came out of mums like making the blend up themselves for like the peaceful child. And doTERRA was like, oh, look, we're hearing like mums are getting great success with this kind of blend. Let's see if we can, you know, make something like that that people can buy. So sometimes it's that lived experience that we're all sharing, you know, we're all trying things and sharing things. And I've just found that that peer support from the community as being incredible, and that's just an ongoing resource. So I hope that's given some help to anyone who's watching or watching the recording. And yeah, like if there's anything that we want to chat about now or ask now, or when we turn it off. But yeah, I'd love to hear how anyone goes and what helps you to move the needle with your sleep and your evening routine.
Thank you so much, Karen.
My pleasure.
So helpful. Maybe if you want to pop in the chat the app that you use for sleep.
Yeah.
Um, and I can see someone said there that, you know, at night they take a copaiba, a drop of copaiba under the tongue, which is beautiful. I find copaiba really useful at night as well.
Yeah.
Some of you that have seen me present, you'll see I take 2 Serenity soft gels and 2 copaiba at night with my MetaPower Advantage, and I feel like I found a really good rhythm there. And you know, the Serenity soft gels, which will be lavender peace soft gels in the Australian New Zealand market, will be out by mid-year. So hopefully by June we'll have them. And they were designed to help us to help our circadian rhythms to come back into their own natural state, because they're all over the place for many reasons, some of which Karen beautifully spoke into tonight, which is that light coming in, it's keeping the serotonin going, and there's no signals for the body to switch off. I agree with Karen. I find nighttime viewing of things, TV, movies, whatever, overstimulating. Paul will find it relaxing. He can switch off and go to bed straight after. We definitely don't have one in the room. That's just, I thought you were so kind to say negotiate. I'm like, if you want to be in the room, I'm sorry, we are not life partners. We cannot be together if that's your thing. But it was.
I actually ended up going to sleep in the spare room.
I remember.
That, and partly because of the incessant snoring. It was a luxury to have that, so I was grateful. Not everyone has that, but I was like, hang on, I'm just sleep is my priority. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I do remember you did that, and it's great. You
eventually
priority, but I don't even not want to sleep with Paul. You know what I mean? So he watches it away from, you know, when I can't hear it, or if we do watch something together, it's quite early. There's a question there from Chantel. Why 2 of each? 1 of each are enough for some people. For me, honey, I've gone through a massive journey with the big M, and it's been nearly a decade, you know, with perimenopause, menopause to postmenopause. I'm 50 now, but I started like basically 40, early 40s, and that's actually what I need to help me to get to sleep. And now with the adaptive at night with it, when I'm drinking my adaptive down, I have about that much liquid with it. I take it down. I have both of those. Ladies, I just also, and gents, if any gents are watching the replay, I just want to remind you the MetaPower Recharge has magnesium. So I find drinking that during the day, remember Karen was talking about preparing during the day, I find that has really helped me not to, you know, wake up with cramps, and I don't have as much pain between that and the MetaPower Advantage. So that might just be a tip. And if you're traveling, we've been traveling so much, Paul and I, at the moment with this tour we're on. I'm finding that even just taking some MetaPower electrolytes, the recharge in the evening as well as in the day, is helping me to hydrate and not for it to just flush straight through my body like water does. So I'll drink that, you know, sometimes even overnight if I need to, if I'm in crazy time zones, and it's helping me so much. So, you know, I think just use what works for you. If 1 of each works for you, Chantel, definitely just keep going with that, sweetheart.
I saw someone say, I think it was Diane, they put the lavender peace on their pillow, and I didn't really
Yes.
you know, little bits on the pillow can be lovely, or you know, you're doing a cover, so you can just sort of smell it, and even having a little tissue by the bed, and if you do find you wake in the night, just a little smell of that, just that cue, just to go, oh, you know, because the diffuser's turned off, like we were talking about, you know, just so you can easily get that oil and that cue for the body without moving around too much and, you know, getting up comfortable. So people make this little sleep sprays, you know, for their room. There's so many different things that you can do that support.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I should just mention there's a global announcement that's been made with some of the essential oils, single notes and blends that will be discontinued globally. So doTERRA has a gazillion essential oils, as you all know, and they're reducing the number. So some of the things will be going are the emotional aromatherapy kit touch oils. So the 5 ml will stay, but if you, like me, love the peace blend at night, buy up on that. And the other really good one for nervous system regulation and sleep, and also just any sacred anointing work any of you like doing, is spikenard. That one will be going as well. So I think people just don't understand the value of it, and so it's not being sold. So grab those. But if you want me to send you a photo of some of the things that are going, just let me know. This is Lord Monty, Karen's beautiful
Kind of trip
baby.
me up now.
Yeah.
It's a source of comfort and also sleep instructor. So.
Yeah. Yes. So, darlings, if there are any questions, we'll go off mute now, and off recording now, and you can just ask them for the next little bit. We're here, but I hope that you've enjoyed tonight and got so much out of this. Nicole, just message me and I'll send it to you. There are so many things that are being discontinued. It's a big list, so I'm happy to send that to you. Just DM me, anyone that wants to know. And yes, please keep showing up for these. Please just keep loving yourselves enough to do this and be this. Are you finding this program useful? Pop a 1 down there if you're finding this useful. And pop a 2 in the chat as well if you are finding yourself placing some of these ideas, these suggestions into your daily life, and that it's supporting you. So a 2 if you're beginning the habit stacking. Great. I'm so happy to see this. Total change of routine. Awesome. So happy. Yeah, great. That's what we're here for this change. I know 90 days is a long commitment, but this is how we can really create a potent change and develop new habits in 90 days together. Yeah. Are you going to say something, Karen, just before I turn off?
Oh, no. I'm just happy to hear that it's helpful for people. And, as we spoke about at the beginning, it's a process, and I'd got things like locked in pretty good, and then I went through the separation, some things fell to the side, so it's just coming back if that happens, using the supports, being kind to ourselves, which we spoke about on the morning routine one as well, because if we're critical that we're not doing enough, or that we the habit, we fell out of the routine, that's not helpful. And this is all about de-stressing, and that's a stressful sort of pattern. So just bearing in mind how we speak to ourselves as well, and using those kind words and giving ourselves compassion is really important.
Yes, thank you so much, Karen. Thanks for an amazing time together. I'll stop the recording and we'll hang out for any questions or shares.
Yeah.